I have a brand new bankroll challenge for you guys. This is going to be a 6-deck, $12,000 bankroll challenge. All right, and in fact, we're going to go over the rules that we're going to be using for this bankroll challenge here in just a little bit. But first off, I want to tell you that you're probably seeing this video here on YouTube, and I want to let you know that this is going to start out, this bankroll challenge is going to start out on my Patreon. So the link is going to be in the pinned comment of this video if you want to join that. And it's just going to be the lowest tier, so it shouldn't cost you too much if you want to join that for a few months or maybe just 1 month, see if it's worth it. And then if you cancel, that's fine by me. But anyway, this is going to be, I think, a little bit more beginner friendly. And some of you have commented before on my $50,000 bankroll challenge and said that first off, you don't have that kind of money. And that's understandable. I don't really either, but I have chips and I can play with that. And so with this, I think this is going to be a little bit more attainable for most of us. Now, some of you are still probably thinking, oh, 12,000, that's going to take a while to save that up. And you're probably right. And in that time, you can be watching this and practicing as you hopefully accrue that kind of capital. And then you can throw it into your bankroll and hopefully really start to take off after that. All right, now a couple things with this. One, I did try to do it with a little bit lower, which was 10,000. However, I found that my risk of ruin down here was a little bit too high for what I like to do. Even this is pushing it for me. Typically, I like to keep this at least under 2, if not under 1%, if possible. And so, one, you might want to get some pro betting software. CVCX or Blackjack Apprenticeship has that. In fact, I'm an affiliate with Blackjack Apprenticeship, so I'd appreciate if you use my link again down in the description of this video. But that will tell you exactly kind of these numbers. That's where I got these from. And so let's go over some of these rules that we're going to be using in this challenge here and see maybe, how doable are they and what you might want to look for, especially when you're out there trying to play, as you want to give yourself the best shot possible. And you can maybe take some of these ideas, leave the others, depending on what you have available to you. Okay, first off, like I said, this is going to be 6 decks, and we're starting off with $12,000. Since we want to give ourselves the best chance possible, we're going to look for games that are heads up, meaning that we're the only player, just us and the dealer. And typically, this is just an average speed that I got, again, from those numbers on Blackjack Apprenticeship. You can typically get, playing just one spot, 246, so about 250 rounds per hour, because without playing those side bets, like sometimes slow down the game with those other players, you can really roll with this, all right? Heads up, like I said, 6 decks are penetration. This is going to seem a little crazy, but it's going to be 5.2, which means there's less than a deck. There's 41 cards cut off, and that might seem, like I said, a little bit crazy. You maybe haven't seen games like that. But recently, I've noticed that a couple of my local casinos are really cutting it thin lately. All right, and you might have to, again, take a trip or go on go on a little bit of a road trip to find some of those better games. But the further that cut card is, the better it is going to be for you. Now, these games are they're not impossible to find. Like I said, there's several around me right now that are really cutting it thin, and I think you might be able to find those as well. All right, so pretty thin penetration. The further they cut, the better. We're playing with the H17, resplitting aces, doubling after splits, and we can split up to 4 times. Again, all very common rules where I'm from. And then no surrender. So if you have surrender, that's going to be even better for you. If you trade surrender for maybe cutting off one deck, those two could potentially offset each other just a little bit. All right, the EV for this is going to be right at $80 an hour, 80.17. The risk of ruin, like I said, is a little bit high for what I'm going for, but I think as you're first starting out with a little bit of a smaller bankroll, you can take a couple things into consideration. One, if let's say you only have like $8,000 to $10,000 available, but you also are working a nice job or any kind of job, really doesn't necessarily have to be nice. You could potentially call that a renewable, I lost the word there for a second, a renewable bankroll, and then you can afford to play just a little bit less, all right? Because that compensates for some of the risk as you are constantly pumping money into that bankroll, all right? Now, if you don't plan on using that money for your bankroll ever, then you can't do that. So you do have to be able to add a little bit if that's the case. So if you have, like, again, maybe 8,000, 9,000 that you could get there, but 12 is kind of hard for you, think about maybe that renewable aspect of giving yourself a little bit more into this bankroll each month that you get your paycheck. All right. Standard deviation. This is just kind of the way I understand this is how much you could potentially win or lose in one given hour with the parameters that are set. And this is always typically a pretty high number, 733. So if you ever lose more than that, you might have something off with your numbers. Okay. Or N0, that's going to be the number of hours before you are kind of guaranteed to win, but then air quotes because there's a little bit more to it than that. It has to deal with the standard deviation. But for these two, you can kind of don't ignore them, but just don't pay as much attention to the EV as you do for the EV and the risk of ruin. All right, now the most important part here is the bet spread that we're using. And when I created this bet spread, I wanted to make it one, kind of user-friendly, and then two, also as profitable as possible, right, with the biggest EV. And so what we're going to do here is we're playing 6-deck, and most 6-deck games, they allow you to kind of wong in and wong out. Wonging out for videos is kind of hard because you got to just sit there and play with a random person, and we're playing heads up, so it's not going to really make sense in this video. So if we hit a true count of -3, we're just going to be done with that shoe, and then some of these videos I might deal another one. All right. Otherwise, we're going with just one spot all the way down. Just we're playing this middle one here, and it's going to be 10, 10, 10 from 0 and lower until we get to -3, and then we're going to stop. Right at a true 1, we're going to start betting $25, and then we're going to kind of ramp up just with one more green each time. So for example, it's going to be 1 green at a true 1, 2 greens, $50 at a true 2, 75 or 3 greens at a true 3, 4 for 4, and 5 greens for $125 for a true 5. All right, so if you want to see this in action, we're going to, again, throw this over to my Patreon, and that link is going to be in the pinned comment. I'm going to start this here in about 60 seconds once I hit stop on this video and start on my next one. So if that sounds interesting to you, pop over there. Again, the lowest tier will get you access to all these videos. And when I first start this, I'm going to make sure there's at least 5 of these videos so that you have something. You're not just going to go get one video. You'll get at least 5. And so make sure that you go check that out. And then if you don't like it for whatever reason, always feel free to cancel on that. So until next time, guys, or until I see you over there on Patreon, remember, this is A1 Blackjack.